Hey everyone, and thanks for checking out our poster. To understand how language comprehension works, we need to consider not only averages across people, but also the differences between people. This is important not just because we want to understand the sources of deficits, but also because individual differences can help us answer theoretical questions, for example, about the influence of domain general and domain specific capacities to language processing. In our research group, we're interested in how people use context to select the appropriate meaning of words that have multiple meanings. From experimental research looking at group averages, we know that this is sometimes hard, for example, when the meaning is less frequent, like the bird meaning of crane. But we know less about individual differences in this disambiguation ability. The problem is, the experimental research tradition and individual differences approaches to research are in this tug of war where each is pulling us into a different direction. Experimental research is interested in within participant variance. On the other hand, individual differences research is interested in what distinguishes different people from each other. What I'm presenting here are the results from a pilot study with 50 adults who completed a web-based task. They listened to brief narratives and had to select pictures to go with the content of those narratives. So we had our ambiguous condition in which the picture probed whether the participant had disambiguated the word crane, for example. Performance in this condition was compared to a control condition, where we used the same context and picture, but replaced the final word with an unambiguous alternative. A comparison between these two conditions is what we would do in a traditional experimental setting, and we would then be able to draw conclusions about group-level effects of ambiguity. However, from an individual differences perspective, we need to make a comparison within participant. Since we can't present the same individual with the same story twice, we are forced to instead make a comparison between the ambiguous condition and an unambiguous condition that is not as neatly matched. So we had three conditions. We ran a few pilot studies to help us understand the characteristics of the stimuli, showing that the unmatched condition was not ideal, but a reasonable control. At the group level, we found that, as we expected, the ambiguous condition was harder than either of the control conditions. Crucially, we also found evidence that individuals varied in how much of an effect the ambiguity had on their task performance. Our next step is understanding where these individual differences come from. For this, we are designing a larger scale individual differences study using our picture selection task as a measure of disambiguation and relating performance to measures of domain general executive control abilities and domain specific language related measures. We have learned a lot from our piloting and exploratory analyses and can make a few recommendations for researchers who want to design bespoke tasks to measure individual differences in a particular linguistic ability. We want to carefully design and pilot our items and paradigm to make sure our measure is sensitive to individual differences and captures those reliably, but also that it captures exactly the process that we are interested in. In sum, if we are to bring forward the field of psycholinguistics, and I believe one way to do this is by looking at individual differences, we need to embrace the fact that we're now slightly outside our comfort zone and in the realm of measurement. There's some references at the bottom of our poster as well about task design, item development, measurement reliability, and statistical methods, which we hope will be helpful for anyone embarking on a mission similar to ours. As this work is still ongoing, it would be great to get some feedback and to discuss some of these issues with you in more detail. Thank you.